Yeah.
So you're still muted.
What's that? Hold on, I'm gonna myself. I'm not using my computer. I'm using.
Can you hear us, Chris?
That's yeah. All right, great.
Okay, this is the Hudson IDA Finance Committee meeting. Have you had a chance to review the minutes from the June 1st meeting?
Yeah.
Can I have a motion and a second to accept the minutes, unless you have comments on them?
I'll make a motion to accept it.
I'm on financial.
Yeah.
You are.
Yep, thank you. I did the homework. I figured.
You're like, wait.
Yes, second.
Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You look at the second and third sheets in your packet. Those are the bank reconciliations. It's on both sides for May and June. Did anyone have any questions or comments on the two bank reconciliations? Can I get a motion and a second to accept the bank recs? I don't think we actually need a motion to accept them. I think we just need a second person to review them and okay them. But we might as well have it on as the record. It's easier than trying to place down signatures, so.
Make a motion.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
The last two pages are payables. So if you on page hand number 8, the second to last page, on the back page of that, you'll see a list of monthly bills to pay. As I've stated before, the first two that are listed are pending additional escrow monies that still have not come in. So those are still being held. So the new ones are the May, June, and July invoices for Roden, House and Shaw, as well as the administration fee for April, May, and June of 2026 payable to CEDC. Does anybody have any questions on those bills? Okay, may I have a motion and a second to approve the bills and bring them forward to the full board for approval?
I'll make motion. I'll second you.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. And the last page is pilots receivables. We received one pilot since the last distribution, which was KFR, which is Providence Hall and Schuyler Court. It's a small amount because, as we discussed in previous meetings, there have been some issues with the assessment roll not accurately reflecting the tax status of these properties. So Michael Tucker and I spent a quite significant amount of time trying to work out the balance between what they've actually paid the municipalities that they shouldn't have versus what they should have paid the IDA, and came up with the net and basically built for the net to the IDA. So the total payment for them was $9,114.52. The pilot distributions that you can see are based on the overall contribution of each municipality to the 2026 mill rate. And that's how those numbers are calculated. So does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, then may I have a motion and a second to approve the pilot distributions and to bring that forward to the full board for approval?
I'll make a motion. I'll second your motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Does anyone on the finance committee have any old or new business they would like to bring up?
No.
Okay. Then does anybody in the public have any questions or comments? Hearing no questions or comments.
Margaret might be. Oh, or maybe just have that muted. Never mind.
Margaret Morris, if you're trying to talk, you're muted.
No, I don't have my hand raised, I don't think.
Okay, but you have dotted little dots next to your name that makes it look like you're talking. Technology. Okay, having no other business, can I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. All right, thank you. All right, call
Oh,
the.
sorry. Can I recall the finance committee meeting? In addition, as you know, we have 3 CDs at differing maturity rates. One is going to mature on the 14th of this month. I would like to roll it over. It's roughly the same amount of interest as the last one we paid, so
I have a question.
you're not in the finance. Committee, so you have to wait till. I don't make the rules. So can I have a motion and a second to roll the CD over to continue to accrue interest?
I'll make a motion. I'll second that. motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, does anybody have any public comments or questions?
Yes, the thing is, I noticed about these CDs, it's 1.4. We get into, what is the interest rate?
No, it's, one was 2.95 and the other one was 3. Two of them were 3 and one was 2.95, and this will roll over to a similar amount. I checked them.
Okay, and we have to continue with green that, right?
I don't know that we have to continue with.
Yeah, because I'm saying there's other ones that have higher rate. And I don't push that.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at the different bank. It gets a little confusing for a couple reasons right now. Having to do with the collateral and whether the collateral coverage is there, so we would have to have collateral coverage at the other bank. And a couple other issues, but
And then what is the average balance?
each CD, I wanna say each one's. It's 185,000, and there's 3 of them.
Yeah, so it's a lot of money. I mean, it can make a difference a few thousands. I think we can definitely get a little bit higher. But
We'd have to, we could look into it, we'd have to justify them. It takes a lot to change our bank accounts because of the signatures.
yeah, I understand. And that is the.
We can look into.
Well, there's an
We can
even,
support you.
yeah. There's an even bigger complication, which we still have not been able to resolve, which is that, we have not been able to determine whether the IDA has its own tax ID number. So right now, the IDA bank account is opened under the city of Hudson's, federal ID number. I have called the IRS at least 4 times. I've stayed on hold for as long as an hour and have never been able to get through to anybody to be able to tell us how we address that. And I've talked with Chris Shaw, and she has no records going back to however long she's been working with the IDA, which far predates me. And she was unable to find anything about the IDA having established its own federal ID number. So I don't think we would actually be able to move banks until that issue is resolved.
Does the city run under any risks by having the federal ID number by IDA having usually the same as the city of Hudson?
I have no idea. This is a relatively new discovery.
Yeah.
We just discovered it at some point, like the second half of last year, I think. So,
So nothing can be done with the banks until that gets squared away.
yeah, that is my
It's
belief,
not
yes.
that, but,
Yeah, because I don't think it's one thing to, this has been in existence historically longer than any of us have been involved in this. So it's one thing to keep it static while we try and get to the more permanent solution.
Mhm.
But obviously, the solution that we desire is to get our own tax ID, and then we can do whatever we want with the bank account.
Yeah.
I wonder if, now, at least online, you try to open a new account, it'll tell you, hey, you already have an account. Does the IRS work like that? Before you try to open up a new, maybe they'll do a check that way instead of having you wait for.
Try opening it at like Alley Bank.
Yes.
See what happens.
No, I mean like just opening a new, tax ID.
Well, that's what I've been trying to do, but I can't get hold of the
Oh,
IRS.
even to the.
To figure out how to do it. Any other questions of the public? Anybody online?
She said for finance.
Okay. Okay, hearing no other questions,
That online.
may I have a motion and a second to adjourn the follow-up financial committee meeting?
Make a motion to.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, call the August IDA meeting to order at 2:10 to 11 p.m. I always like a soundtrack when I get to the opening of a meeting. Yeah, all right. Nowhere to go but up from here. All right. First, like to welcome the newest member of the IDA, Vicky Dascaluti. Welcome. Excited to have you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, Vicky.
Yeah. And good segue good segue into appointments. Now that we have John still at the table, but in a different role, we have a few openings. Three. One is vice chair. Other is members on the audit and governance committee. And Vicky and I spoke before, and she has agreed graciously to join both of those committees, but we are in the search for a vice chair. Don't all rush at one time for this regal position.
I can't nominate you anymore to get you back into the office.
And these are, I believe, Chris, if I'm not mistaken, these three positions would need to be approved.
Yes. By the board, yes.
Mhm.
The role of the vice chair is to cover the meetings when you're absent.
Correct.
No other duties.
And
So-
also authorization, whenever the chair is unavailable, when we've authorized a closing, for example, and the chair is unavailable, the vice chair would be also authorized to execute the necessary documents. So sometimes that can be a more substantive obligation than, not that running a meeting isn't a substantive obligation, Mr. Chair.
All right. Could I get, I would like to nominate Ron to serve as vice chair. May I get a second?
I'll second.
Excellent. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Congratulations,
Is
vice
the
chair.
compensation adjustment immediate or does that come later?
Prorated.
It's triple what you
We'll
were
take your
making.
check whenever you're ready.
All right, and then I would like to nominate Vicky for a seat on the audit committee. May I get a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. And then I would also like to nominate Vicky for a seat on the governance committee. May I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, congratulations for everyone on their new roles. Next is the minutes from our June 1st meeting. Has everyone had the chance to review that? Anybody have any questions, comments, tweaks? All right, may I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Move.
Second. Also, all in favor? Aye. All right, moving on to the finance committee report. Heather, would you like to walk us through the committee reviewed?
Sure. So in the finance meeting, we reviewed the bank reconciliations and they were approved by the finance committee. We also reviewed the bills to be paid as well as a pilot payment distribution, all of which were approved by the finance committee. So if you have any questions on those documents, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, seeing none, you get a motion to approve the bank reconciliations.
So move.
A second? Great, all in favor?
Aye.
Great, reconciliations have been approved. May I get a motion to approve the payment of the bills?
So move.
A second? All in favor?
Aye.
The bills are approved. May I get a motion to approve the 12-month renewal of CDs with a maturity date of August 14th, 2026.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Aye. And then finally, may I get a motion to approve the pilot payment?
Make a motion.
Excellent. Second, great, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Heather. Next on the agenda is the 620 Union Street project resolution. John, I don't know if you'd like to walk us through, just kind of explain what's going on here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joe. Chair, Mr. Chairman, stepping back, we're about to submit a resolution for your consideration that essentially would empower us to take the next step to look into whether or not we should take action against 620 Union Street. This project is about 2 years off of their deadline for finishing the project, not commencing, but finishing. And they are also in arrears on their taxes. So what we're going to do before, so what we'll do is I'll give everybody a couple of minutes to read through the resolution. I'm not sure if everyone had the time already to or not. And then I was going to read it out loud, but considering its length, I think I'll just give everyone a couple of minutes to read through. And then I'm gonna ask Mike to come up and join us, and Mike will expeditiously go through a timeline and bring everybody. I realize that this project started and most of the decisions were made prior to practically everyone here's joining the IDA. So Mike will go through the timeline, bring us all up to speed on the key dates and key actions of this project. And then we'll turn it over to Chris, our corporate counsel, Chris Chow, who will talk us through the legal reasoning of where we're at and what the hearing entails and why the hearing is required. Good. Okay, so why don't we take 3 minutes to read through the resolution, everyone, in your packet. We're about halfway through, maybe not quite. Page 13. Well, page 12 is where it technically begins. This is the notes. It should be page 12, handwritten as an issue.
Oh, God.
There's 2 sets of pages, sorry, maybe 3. Got it. Yep. Okay, it looks like everyone is done. Okay, so now we're not going to dive right into the resolution. Mike is going to take us through time here and bring us right up to today through the key dates for the project, especially the ones that triggered our need to take action today.
Thank you. This project dates back to February of 2020. David Kessler came to meet with us to discuss a proposal to convert the former home for the aged at 620 Union, also known as the McKinstry Mansion, into a 50 to 55 room boutique hotel at the project cost of $14 million. It's very relevant as we go through this that the March 15th date of the COVID government shutdown has materially affected this project since the beginning. Mr. Kessler submitted an application in April seeking financial assistance. He made a formal presentation to the IDA at its May meeting. From May to July, the IDA staff evaluated the project cost benefit ratio, engaging an independent appraiser and an economic development consultant. And these reports were discussed at the May and July meetings. I reviewed the minutes over the weekend and very pleased to recall that those discussions were robust, to say the least. In August, the IDA passed a resolution authorizing the staff to schedule a public hearing. That resolution was approved with all 6 members present voting yes and 1 absent member. September 8th and September 11th, there were 2 meetings. One was our regular meeting and one was a special meeting where the IDA members reviewed additional staff and consultant reports and held those extensive discussions. On September 16th, the public hearing was held with no public comment. In October, the IDA approved a negative declaration under the seeker requirements and passed a resolution approving financial assistance. All 5 members present voted in favor with 2 absentees. Company closed on the property in March, so you went from October to March as the developer put his financing together and executed documents for IDA financial assistance. And he benefited from a $25,000 mortgage recording tax exemption at the closing. You'll recall that the IDA has 3 incentive benefits that are included when it's been approved for financial assistance. One is a mortgage recording tax equal to 1.25% of the mortgage amount. The second is the sales tax exemption of the 8% sales tax on construction materials, but since this project never began construction, there was no benefit provided to date with respect to construction costs. And the third benefit was a pilot agreement. The terms of the pilot agreement provided that during the time between the closing with the IDA and the completion date, which was 3 years from the date of the closing was March 21st, so the completion deadline was March 1st of 2024. The pilot payment during that 3-year period would be the same as if there was no pilot, based on the assessed value and the actual tax rates of each of the taxing jurisdictions. From March of 2021 into early 2022, we would check in with the developer on occasion, and he was telling us with COVID he was having difficulty putting together the financing, and that continued through 2023, and then in early 2024, we contacted him regarding the upcoming completion deadline and suggested he provide an update to the board. On March 1st, 2024, as I mentioned, the project reached its 3-year contract completion deadline. Because construction had not yet commenced, the company was officially in default. Following that time, we met with the developer and we had frequent communication, as I recall. I reminded him that the deadline had passed and clarified that proceeding with the project would require a new application. And I encouraged him at one point to come in and ask for an extension just prior to the March 1st, 2024 date. We've continued to check in. He did get a $500,000 economic development grant at this point in time. We felt that perhaps there was an opportunity for him to revive the project, but continue to make clear to him that if he was interested in proceeding, he would have to come in and go through the entire IDA process again. Finally got to the point with work assistance with council that we have gone beyond the ability to attempt to help him in his attempts to revive the project. And so I met with him in early June, and Jonathan and I met with him a week and a half ago, where we explained that failing to meet the completion date triggered the termination of the IDA agreement. Title to the property is still in the name of the IDA. We noted that we intended to come to the board meeting today to initiate the process to unwind the transaction. And in that process, we had reviewed past due county, city, and school taxes, as well as the fact that he had received $25,000 in mortgage reporting tax exemption since the project had not proceeded, there was an opportunity for the IDA to recapture that benefit as it was provided for in the documents. On July 29th, last Thursday, Jonathan sent a formal letter to the company, both by email and certified mail, copying not only his attorney, but the bank that provided, required by the closing documents, outlining the next steps, and noting that the documents, was noted in those documents that there was potential for the recapture of the $25,000 mortgage tax and the obligation to be current on his real property tax. Are there any questions on the sequence of events? It was a great project, and it was unfortunate that COVID hit, and that he has not been able to revive the project either before the completion deadline or by coming in to request a new application.
Can I ask? So did they ever give us an explanation why?
Well, the investor decided, if they had gone forward, they would have had a very successful hotel.
Yeah,
Interest rates went up, construction costs went up. Lenders got very skittish about investing in hotel properties during the COVID. Remember, COVID at that point was a year and a half.
And his main point to us, I think if he sort of said what single factor was that he lost one of his equity partners in the deal to a project across the street. So he's been, and that happened over 2 years ago. So he's been, in theory, looking for another lender, partner, or some source of borrowing for over 2 years now.
What's the status of the ownership of the property?
It's in the name of the IDA. And it, normally we would transfer it back, but because of the outstanding, potential
That's-
recapture, we'll let Chris, explain that.
We'll get into the legals next. Let's just make sure everybody's got the facts that they got their head around.
During those 2 meetings that we had, near the end of this timeline here, is there any like promises given, anything that they were working on? Like,
I said to him, I said that we have a meeting, an IDA meeting next week, so we need to take action. I'm willing to talk to the IDA about kicking the can down the road again, another 30 days, but only if you send us in writing a statement that book a meeting with your lawyer, give us the time and date, and tell us that your intention is to bring the property tax back up to pay the property taxes and to communicate a plan forward for how you're going to get the equity that you need. He said that he would, and we did not have received. So, but he said that to Mike several times over the past 2 years.
And after the meeting, we emailed him, to remind him of, that commitment.
yeah, I mean, 2 years over the deadline.
Yeah, it's not like he went away a weekend.
Yeah,
Came back with too many emails.
Time to take action.
I have a couple questions. If we reclaim the $25,000 mortgage tax, does that get turned over to the county because the county would have been the one that would receive the mortgage tax?
I
And
think
my second question is, if he does not come current with his taxes, we're in the process of a foreclosure process right now. Would that property go onto the foreclosure list?
those are for Chris.
You have to go up mute.
Sorry. So yes, so Heather, in the tax review, you're saying it has gone onto the foreclosure list?
No, it has not gone onto the foreclosure list
Okay.
because it's in the name of the city, so we're not gonna foreclose on something in the name of the city, but if it's turned over to him. I guess the question is, if he doesn't come current with his taxes, what happens to the property?
Well, certainly, the IDA needs to proceed with termination and formally turning the deed back. And then once that's in place, presumably the city and would proceed in the normal course. Whatever would be typical for that process should happen, right? If he pays the taxes, he pays the taxes, and if he doesn't pay the taxes, then the city's
It's
going
added
to
to the
keep the way
list.
they would. Right. But we need to go through this formal process of turning the deed back, so that it goes back in the right place. And for that, we need to follow the process that's in the documents that requires a notice and an opportunity for him to ask for a hearing. It's not a public hearing, it's a hearing, right? He has the opportunity to ask for basically a meeting to say, here's why it's all gone bad for me, in a very formal way, right? So the formal notice went out last week from John. And between now and the next meeting, I guess we'll see what he asks for. If he doesn't ask for a hearing, then the IDA can proceed to make its decisions, and that would be consideration of termination, and then consideration of recapture. So those are two different sort of decisions. One is to turn the property back. The other is to seek recapture of the amount of the mortgage tax. Um, and in the case of the taxes, yes, you do turn them over. I don't think the same is true of the mortgage tax, but I will look at that. Okay.
Chris, in terms of the hearing, if we don't agree or, because there's a good faith here and it sounds like John and Mike and, the 2 years, there's been some reach out and if we don't
Mhm.
agree with his explanation, then there's no commitment on us to accept his explanation.
Correct. The board has to make a decision based on the policy that you've adopted about what considerations you would take into account in recapture. So before the next meeting, it would be well to review, and I would ask that maybe Lisa could circulate a copy of the policy. There was a slightly different policy in effect back then. So you can look at the recapture policy, the current one on the website, but I'm not sure the old one is on the website. So maybe Lisa could circulate that so you have exactly the thing that was in place at the time we did this deal. It's very similar, right? It identifies the factors that you're going to take into account in considering their capture, but you're going to make findings and then you're going to make the decision that you're going to make, right? Based on those findings. Um, so those would be the steps. Okay.
And Chris, the metrics that were in place is after his application, but any new application, he would have to go through the new metrics.
Right. I mean, that's why Mike had been communicating with him that he would need to apply because there are new rules for what you would take into account to decide whether or not a project should be tax exempt. That's a little different than recapture, right? We're considering recapture on the basis of the policy that was in place at the time and the project that was in base at the time, right? Those policies, not current policies, but the policies that were in effect at the time, right? That's what
Right.
he's going to be governed by. Okay.
Thank you.
So then this resolution, we were to vote on it and approve it, what does it trigger? What does that lead for the next steps over the coming month?
Good
before we
question.
meet again?
So Chris, why don't we step back a little, let Chris explain to explain to us how this resolution, what it's going to allow us to do and why we feel this is the right course of action.
Right. So this is a formal determination that a recapture event has occurred, meaning that he didn't meet the requirements that he was supposed to meet, chiefly not completing a project by the deadline that we set and not making the investments that he was required to make. And we've identified the recapture amount as the financial assistance, which has been determined to be only the mortgage tax because he hasn't started the project. So he hasn't started taking, typically if he was partway through construction, he would have claimed some sales tax exemptions, but that hasn't happened yet. And so the recapture amount would only be the mortgage tax, as we understand it. And then the notice of determination and then a formal opportunity to request a date for a hearing. So that's really this is the initiation of the process formally by the board. And then at the next meeting, you would or wouldn't be in a position to review it, depending on whether or not he's asked for a hearing.
Thank you.
So basically, we can either go straight to a decision, or if he asks for a hearing, that'll slow us down, and we'll have to provide him time to come in and talk to us, and then issue the decision.
Correct.
And then not to the board for the board to make.
Correct.
And the board will have to vote on whatever the decision recommendation is from the hearing, correct?
Right. The board would have to make a decision based on the results of the hearing and based on your policy and based on the rest of the facts and circumstances that you've been made aware of. That would all be part of the record that you would use to make a decision.
And then anything like foreclosure, you know, sort of some of the questions that Heather was asking, would be a separate process. I mean, we
Correct.
obviously so when I
Correct.
think about it in this context, but it's a completely separate action for different reasons.
Correct. And the only relevance to the IDA to a certain extent would be that because he hasn't been making those payments, he's in default under the agreement. So it's another basis for termination. But in terms of the foreclosure process, the city will have to follow up on that process.
I mean, I think falls on our fiduciary responsibility here, right, in terms of ABO and everything we signed on to. And there's policies, guardrails and everything to prevent something from this happening, and as long as we follow the process, I think the only alternative is to, send this letter and, give him the opportunity for, a hearing. I'm thinking it would be best for him to come to the hearing, but since he hasn't come to anything else, right? I don't know what's going to motivate him to come to hearing when there's a lot of things on his side that's not good right now in terms of where he's at. And I think that the only option we have and is our responsibility to follow through with the process.
Any other questions or comments or thoughts? No? Okay, I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Will we need a roll call vote for this resolution?
Yes, please.
All right, may I, get a motion, to approve the 620 Union Street project resolution?
Make motion.
Excellent. Can I get a second? Great. All right, we're ready for roll call vote.
Mayor Barris,
Aye.
Ron Vogel,
All right.
Heather Campbell,
Aye.
Vicky Pascal Hubby,
Aye.
Sharon Gazluka is absent, Dominic Moranti.
Aye.
Mohammed Roni.
Aye.
And passed that.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, John. Thank you, Mike. Next on the agenda is the Administrative Director's report.
I'll be brief. First of all, thank you for the vote. Was not what I envisioned doing my very first day presiding over an HIDA meeting or being a part of the meeting. But I think as Councilor Moranti said, it's important for us when we do have a financial responsibility of fiduciary obligation to the taxpayers, the residents, as well as the state, to take that and to send a serious sign that we have rules and we expect investors to play by their rules. So let's go on to the administrative support. Be brief. Welcome, Vicky. Good to have a full board
Thank you
again.
so much.
And I'm sorry about the committee assignments. Those were the ones I vacated. So next, we've published a simple and clear guide to the pilots. One of the things we noticed early on when I was going around making the rounds was that people had a lot of questions that were very basic about pilots. And there was a need for more open, transparent communications around the process. So they're on the website, but I'll pass these around if anybody wants to take a look. They're linked to the website already. So hopefully that will prove to be helpful. And thanks to all who attended the ABO training virtually or in real life at Columbia Green last month. The ABO requires all of our board members to be trained every 3 years. Ron, you were with us online, and Vicky, you were with us in person. Thank you very much. Anybody else that hasn't been trained in the last 3 years, talk to Lisa and she will get you online and trained. We're also exploring some metrics and a dashboard approach right now for tracking pilot status and pilot impacts. I'll pass this around too. People can take a look if you want to. This is just an example of some of the metrics. We're basically trying to align our impact metrics up with the same metrics that the state auditor uses, so that we have a good sense of where we're at compared to how he publicizes where IDA should be at. Essentially, we'll look at project status, incentives, profile, and then impacts. So those are kind of the 3 levels of information we're trying to create a dashboard to simply convey that information. And we're also conducting research on allowable IDA activities, investments and spending, so that we can host a discussion with you, with the full board later in the year, sometime this fall, and talk about more proactive things around how the IDA can support city policies and city development. And then quick pilot updates, not a lot. 76 North Street. Somebody had asked for an update on their occupancy at the depot lofts. They were at last reporting 50% leased up. 32 of 64 units were leased. As of today, they're 62.5% leased up, about 13 percentage points higher. So basically they've got 40 out of 64 leased as of today. Pocketbook, no updates or issues. Upper Warren, Crescent, no updates. JLE, no updates. 620 Union Street, you've just heard a lot of updates. We won't go into that. Wick Hotel and Providence Hall, no updates. So on the project front, pretty quiet. As far as looking into progress, we'll probably look next into mansions and see how they're doing. Take their temperature, see where they're at. Other than that, that's our report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for John? All right. Last on the agenda is public comments. We'll start with if there's anyone online. No? Okay. Anybody in the room?
I think on the loft, there's what, 24 left? And they're all saying the one bedroom, I think is what I heard, sorry. So they should have done more 2 and 3s.
Yeah, what I heard was that the one bedrooms were the largest quantity that are remain unoccupied still.
Yeah.
All right. May I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Excellent. Seconds.
Second.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. See you in September.
Thank you.